She kissed me like she always did. Lips soft, coffee on her breath, scent of lavender shampoo clinging to her hair. There was no pause, no lingering hesitation, just a goodbye, followed by the usual lines. Love you. Don't forget Jeremy's field trip form. I won't, I said. I watched her pull the roller bag into the garage. Heard the garage door open. Listened as her car backed out and pulled away. Then I stared at the door long after it closed. It was her third trip in 6 weeks, something big going on at her office. A pitch, she said. Tight deadline. Important client. She rattled it off like a checklist. I didn't question it at first. Claire had always been good at her job, proud of it. But this time, something about her smile felt rehearsed, like she'd practiced it in the mirror. I glanced at the calendar. Denton, Wednesday through Friday, was scribbled in red marker. Denton, small city, barely a few hours away. Close enough that she could have driven, but she flew. Said she needed to save energy. That she'd be too tired for calls, maybe a text or two if she got a free moment. Funny thing about marriage, you get to know your partner's tells. The little things. The way Claire used to call from hotel beds just to hear my voice. How she'd send blurry selfies with cheap room service or comment on bad hotel art. She hadn't done any of that lately. Not even a joke. I should have trusted her. I wanted to. But 2 things happened recently that didn't sit right. First, 6 weeks ago, her purse was stolen on a trip. She called me in a panic that morning. Asked me to cancel the cards. Said the hotel was searching the dumpsters and that she might have to use taxis for the rest of her stay. And second, I stumbled across her Fidelity account while looking for our insurance policy. Claire never hid her finances, but she also never volunteered them. That account held what was left of her parents' inheritance. Over $400,000. She didn't touch it until 6 weeks ago. $3,000 withdrawn. Check made out to a local jewelry store in the very city she'd just returned from. I called the store, pretending we had a warranty issue. Oh yes, the woman said. Your wife came in to replace her wedding and engagement rings. She was so upset. Said they'd been stolen. From her purse. I asked. Yes, while she was at a party. Dancing. That's when it hit me. Claire hadn't said anything about a party. She told me the purse was taken in the lobby while grabbing a paper. But the hotel theft report she signed? It mentioned dancing. She even checked the box that said police report not filed. That's when the questions started keeping me up at night. Why was she dancing alone, at night, on a business trip? Why did she lie about where the purse was stolen? And most of all, why were her rings off her hand to begin with? I didn't accuse her. I didn't rage. That's not me. Emotion clouds the truth. I needed clarity. Evidence. Something undeniable. So I waited until the night before her next trip. She pulled into the garage at 6:12 p.m., humming softly as she stepped out of the car. Her suitcase was already in the back. The briefcase? Not in the passenger seat like usual. That meant it was in the trunk. During dinner, she laughed at our son's broccoli jokes. She even leaned in to kiss my cheek when she brought me a beer. Said she'd miss us. Said this pitch might run late. Don't wait up, she joked. I smiled. Just don't forget your toothbrush this time. Already packed, she grinned. At 9:30, she went upstairs to pack her overnight bag. Said she'd shower in the morning. That was my window. I took her car keys under the guise of checking a slow tire leak. Drove to Jerry's service station, the one I've known since high school, and pulled into his bay. I told him it was nothing serious, just buying time to check something. Jerry nodded. No questions. Loyalty like that is rare. I popped the trunk, pulled out the briefcase. It opened with a soft click. On top, presentation papers, receipts, a hairbrush. Nothing odd. But in one side pocket, tucked behind her travel mouse and a small bottle of painkillers, was a flat silver packet. Contraceptives. 3 missing. My hands didn't shake. My breathing didn't stutter. I just stood there, staring at the foil. I what it meant. I'd had a vasectomy 5 years ago, right after Melissa was born. We were done with kids. We both agreed. So if she had condoms, they weren't for me. I put everything back exactly as I found it. Closed the briefcase. Thanked Jerry. Drove home. By the time I parked, Claire was already in bed. You okay? She murmured as I slipped in beside her. Yeah, I lied. Just tired. She spooned into me, warm and trusting. I stared at the ceiling, eyes wide open. Tomorrow, She'd be on her way to Denton, and I'd be calling a private investigator. She left the house at 7:26 a.m. sharp. Same black slacks, same navy blouse. Hair in that soft twist she knows flatters her cheekbones. She kissed the kids, kissed me, and promised she'd call when she landed. She didn't look nervous. That was the most unsettling part. I stood at the kitchen window long after she left. The street outside was calm. The only movement came from the recycling truck turning the corner and a neighbor walking their retriever. Everything looked normal, but normal doesn't mean innocent. I waited until 10 a.m. to make my first move. No reason to rush. I'd already set things in motion. The private investigator I contacted specialized in low-profile surveillance. Small firm. Discreet. One of those word-of-mouth only types with no website. Just a phone number passed between betrayed husbands like a dirty secret. I gave them everything. Her flight info, hotel name, photo, even the make of her briefcase. The agent said they'd have someone on the ground by early evening. In the meantime, he advised me to do what I already planned. Stay calm, stay distant, and if possible, plant eyes and ears where they mattered most. At noon, I made my way to Claire's office. Nothing suspicious about a husband bringing his wife a forgotten charger. I signed in, smiled politely at the receptionist, and headed up to her floor. She wasn't in, of course, already airborne, but her door was unlocked, which surprised me. I stepped in, closed it quietly behind me, and took a quick look around. Her desk was organized, like always, but something about the top drawer caught my eye. It wasn't closed all the way. When I slid it open, I found nothing damning, just Post-its, pens, a granola bar. But tucked under a stack of training manuals was a pack of mints, and next to it, a travel-sized bottle of lubricant. I froze. A professional woman doesn't need lube and condoms in her work drawer, especially not one who has a husband with a vasectomy and no known complaints at home. I didn't touch them, just took a photo with my phone. Evidence. Later that night, the PI checked in. She'd arrived at the hotel, checked in alone, ate a salad in the lobby bar, drank half a glass of wine. No signs of a companion. No calls. She went up to her room at 9:47 p.m. Anything on her phone? I asked. We'll try to intercept usage through our mobile tracker. Depends on encryption, apps, and how cautious she is. If she uses WhatsApp, Telegram could take longer. I thanked him and hung up. Frustrated, but patient. I've always been good at that, letting time do the heavy lifting. Around midnight, I couldn't sleep. So I went back downstairs, made some tea, and sat in the dark living room, scrolling through photos on my phone. Photos of our wedding, of Claire holding Jeremy as a baby, of Melissa's second birthday. And I started to ask myself questions I hadn't dared the day before. Had this started recently, or had it always been there? Was it just one man? Or had she made a habit of this on every trip? And the one that twisted the knife? Why didn't she just leave me? Because there was something more cowardly about cheating than divorce. Divorce says I'm done. Cheating says I want both. The marriage, the kids, the stability, and the thrill. It's entitlement disguised as fatigue. Too tired, she said. Things got hectic. Bullshit. By Friday morning, I'd gathered more data. The PI followed her the second night. After dinner, alone again, she went to her room at 10:12 p.m. But 23 minutes later, a man entered the elevator on the far side of the lobby, carrying a bottle of wine and 2 glasses. He got off on her floor. No name. No keycard record under his name. Possibly someone else from the company. He didn't leave until 3:07 a.m. The PI didn't get a photo inside the room. Of course not. But he captured her expression when the man arrived. That moment of recognition, of anticipation. It was unmistakable. She smiled. Not polite, not professional, intimate. She came home Friday evening with another kiss, another excuse. Sorry I didn't call. The days were packed. Exhausting. God, yes. I just want to crash. I helped her bring in the suitcase. It was lighter this time. She went to shower. I took the suitcase into the garage and opened it beneath the pale bulb above my workbench. The cocktail dress was gone. The condoms were too. That weekend, I didn't touch her. Not out of anger. Not out of virtue. Out of necessity. I was holding everything in by the teeth. Claire acted like nothing had changed. She cooked Sunday breakfast in her robe, humming to herself while the kids watched cartoons. She teased Jeremy about his bedhead, joked with Melissa about picking out a new bike. She even leaned in, kissed my neck while I rinsed the dishes, and said, "I missed you." I turned to her, slow. "You didn't call." She smiled, sheepish. Things got hectic. There was again. That line. Polished and rehearsed. She used it like a magic spell, as if repeating it often enough would absolve her. I nodded and said nothing. We went to church that morning, sat together like the model suburban family. Pastor Ryan gave a sermon about faith and temptation, and I watched her fingers play with her wedding band. Absent-minded. Restless. At one point, she glanced at me and smiled, and I realized something cruel. She thought she'd gotten away with it. She thought I was either too trusting, too blind, or too weak to suspect anything. She was wrong. That night, after the kids were asleep, she curled up next to me in bed, asked if I wanted to watch something. I picked an old movie, something slow and quiet, the conversation. She didn't catch the symbolism. Surveillance, betrayal, a man listening to lies through thin walls. About halfway through, she dozed off. I waited until her breathing steadied, then slipped out of bed and into the office. The PI had emailed the first set of photos. There she was, standing in a lobby bar, smiling at the man from the night before. Clean cut, early 40s, navy blazer, no tie, a company badge on his lapel. They weren't touching, but the body language said everything. Intimacy wrapped in routine. She looked at ease, comfortable, like this wasn't the first time. I stared at the photos for a long time, studied every frame. There were no kiss shots, no hotel hallway embraces, but I didn't need those. The timestamp was enough. His presence was enough. Her body language screamed more than a confession ever could. And then I saw the text. The PI had intercepted a message sent from her phone while she was still in the bar. It was short, simple. Room 712. Bring the good wine. No emojis. No cutesy language. This wasn't flirtation. It was logistics. A routine. My hands clenched around the edge of the desk. The wood creaked. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. That wasn't the kind of pain this was. This was colder, deeper, like a well you drop into and never hit the bottom. She'd chosen this. She'd looked at our life, our kids, our years together, everything we built, and said, not enough. And the worst part? I still loved her. Or maybe I just loved who I thought she was. I closed the laptop. The next morning, I watched her get the kids ready for school. She kissed their foreheads, adjusted their backpacks, told them she loved them. And I wondered, with something like disgust and awe, how she could compartmentalize so effortlessly. She turned to me before walking out the door. "You working late tonight?" she asked. "Maybe," I said. She smiled, touched my arm, and walked out. And I knew then what I had to do. I didn't go to work that day. I drove instead, to a law office 2 towns over, far enough not to raise questions, but close enough for a quick return. His name was Thomas Riley, divorce attorney, mid-50s, sharp as a scalpel. I told him what I knew, what I suspected, and what I had. He didn't blink. "You want to go scorched earth, or keep it quiet?" he asked. "I want the truth to hurt her," I said. The way her lie hurt me. He nodded slowly. "We'll need more. Photos inside the hotel room would be ideal. Proof of intercourse." "She used protection," I muttered. He arched a brow. "So you know she planned it." I nodded. "I'll have my investigator coordinate with yours. If this has happened more than once, we'll find it." Then he handed me a stack of papers. "When you're ready to serve, I can file within 24 hours. I left with the envelope tucked in my glove box. Didn't even look at the papers again that day. But I knew they were there. A quiet threat. A loaded gun I could fire any time. That evening, when Claire got home, she kissed me again. Same scent. Same softness. I kissed her back. And in that moment, I finally understood how people stay married for decades with secrets festering between them. Because the performance is easier than the explosion. Because sometimes the lie is more familiar than the truth. But I wasn't going to stay in this lie. I was just waiting for the right time to burn it all down. Tuesday morning started like any other. Eggs on the skillet, cartoons on the TV, the clink of cereal bowls. Claire moved through the kitchen like she always did. Efficient, cheerful, unburdened. Watching her pour milk into Melissa's cup while humming a tune from the car radio made me sick. Not angry. Sick. like I was watching a stranger play dress-up in my wife's skin. She didn't know I'd already filed preliminary paperwork. She didn't know I had a team quietly connecting the dots, tracking travel records, gathering hotel logs, pulling phone metadata. She didn't know I'd scheduled a second PI to dig into her coworker, the one with the wine, the one who showed up in room 712. But she was going to know soon. I decided I wanted to see it, not just catch her. I wanted to watch her realize I knew. I started with something small, subtle. I talked to Melissa's teacher yesterday. I said over breakfast. She mentioned how well she's adjusting this year. Said she seems more emotionally grounded lately. Said it usually happens when kids sense more stability at home. Claire blinked, unsure. That's great. You've been traveling so much, I said. But maybe the kids sense we're working through things. She looked at me, eyes narrowing just slightly. The first flicker of uncertainty. Are we? She asked softly. I smiled. Of course. That night, I made love to her. I know how that sounds. You're thinking why? Because I wanted her to feel safe. I wanted her to think the danger had passed, that whatever tremor had run through me had settled, that I had swallowed my doubts and returned to normalcy. And in the morning, I left a note on her vanity. You're the only woman I'll ever love, and the only one who could destroy me. I watched her read it in the mirror. Her hands trembled just slightly. She didn't mention it, but she was quiet all day. By Thursday, she was pacing. She called me twice at work for no reason, something she never did. Just checking in, she said, voice too light. Did you remember to pick up milk? I did, I replied. And I had some time, so I stopped by the hardware store too, thinking of changing the locks. These old ones stick sometimes. Silence. Then a forced chuckle. You and your projects. Yeah, I said, just trying to keep things secure. That night, after the kids were in bed, she poured us each a glass of wine. Something red and overpriced from the back of the cabinet. She curled up next to me on the couch, slipped a leg over mine, let her fingers trace along my wrist. Are we okay? She whispered. I turned my head to her. Why wouldn't we be? She looked down, shrugged. You've just seemed distant lately, like your mind's always somewhere else. I leaned in, kissed her temple. Maybe it is, I murmured. Maybe it's trying to remember who you used to be. She froze, only for a second, but that was all I needed. The next morning, I left a folder on the kitchen table. Nothing dramatic. No photos, no reports. Just one printed email from her company's travel department. It confirmed a room upgrade, from standard queen to executive king. Signed by her boss, the one with the wine. She saw it while packing the kids' lunches. I was sipping coffee at the counter, pretending to check the news. She held it in her hands for a long time, longer than necessary. Her face was blank, studied, but her knuckles were white. She didn't speak, didn't ask how I got it. She folded it once, twice, slid it into the trash beneath the coffee grounds. I said nothing, but we both knew this was no longer a game. That night, she cried in the shower. She thought I couldn't hear her. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the water run long past necessity, listening to the muffled sobs and wondering if they were for me, or just for the life she felt slipping away. She came to bed wordless, hair still wet, curled into a fetal position on her side of the mattress. I didn't reach for her. I just stared at the wall, counting the seconds. I had her attention now. No accusations. No shouting. Just small cuts, precise, intentional. Let her bleed in silence, just like she made me. And when she starts wondering what else I know, who else I've spoken to, where this is all heading, that's when she'll panic. That's when I'll strike. Saturday morning came wrapped in tension. Claire was quiet, methodical. She moved around the house like a guest, not touching anything unless necessary. She didn't kiss me when I brought her coffee, just said thanks and went back to folding laundry that had already been folded. Her eyes were raw. She hadn't slept well. I didn't bring it up. I wanted her to stew in it. Let her own imagination be the blade. The kids were with my parents for the weekend. It had been on the calendar for weeks. Something Claire had suggested herself. Funny how plans become weapons when you know how to wield them. I let the silence sit. Through breakfast. Through a fake attempt at reorganizing the garage. Through her pretending to clean under the couch cushions like she was searching for a lost coin and not her balance. She finally broke just before noon. I found something on the printer last night, she said from across the kitchen. Her voice was measured, but her hands gripped the edge of the counter. Was that meant for me? Did you read it? I asked without looking up. She didn't answer. That's how reading works, I continued. You find something, you read it. If it was for you, it wouldn't matter. If it wasn't, well, then you'd feel guilty. Silence. Then, softly, who gave it to you? I smiled. That was the wrong question. It wasn't what is this about? Or why do you have this? No denial. No lie. Just, who ratted me out? I stepped forward, slow and deliberate. Let her feel it. It doesn't matter who, I said. What matters is, I know. She opened her mouth, closed it. Her eyes searched my face, hoping to find a boundary. A line. Something that told her how deep I dug. I don't, she started, but I held up a hand. Don't insult either of us. Her lips pressed together, so tight they went white. Her whole face seemed to fold inward, like it couldn't bear the weight of her own shame. But still, no apology, no confession. So I twisted the knife. I know about room 712, I said. Her eyes flickered. Panic. I know about the wine. I know about the ring replacements. I know about the emails sent from your company laptop between midnight and 3 a.m. I know about the condoms in your briefcase. I know about the lube in your desk drawer. And then I leaned in close, just enough for her to smell the coffee on my breath. And I know, you were smiling when he walked into the bar. That did it. Her breath caught. Her posture crumbled. The mask fell. She sank into a chair and put her head in her hands. Her shoulders trembled. Not from grief, but from the kind of fear that comes when a person realizes they aren't in control anymore. I never meant to hurt you, she whispered. That's the thing, I said coldly. You didn't care if you did. She looked up, eyes red, and finally asked the question I'd been waiting for. How long have you known? I let the silence stretch like a rubber band, just until it threatened to snap. Long enough to make a plan, I said. Her expression shifted. Anger, the real kind. Defensive and desperate. What are you going to do? Now we were speaking her language. Risk management, mitigation, negotiation. Not love, not regret, just fallout control. I stepped back, folded my arms. That depends, I said, on whether this was a one-time mistake or a long-term choice. She didn't speak. She didn't have to. The silence was its own confession. That night, she slept in the guest room. Not because I told her to, because she knew the bed we once shared was no longer hers. I lay awake for hours, staring at the ceiling, trying to decide which was worse, the affair or how good she'd gotten at lying to me. Because the truth is, this wasn't a slip. It was a second life, built on strategy, executed with precision, concealed with expertise. And now that it was out in the open, the question wasn't just whether I would leave her. The question was how badly I wanted her to lose. I didn't ask her to confess. That would have made things easier for her. She could say her piece, cry her tears, beg her forgiveness. Instead, I let the silence stretch between us like barbed wire. I wanted her to feel it snagging every move she made. Claire tiptoed around the house the next morning. She made pancakes for the kids like nothing had happened. She folded my laundry, left a cup of coffee on my desk. I drank it while researching asset protection. By noon, I was on the phone with a family attorney I'd found through a friend. Discreet, aggressive, no time for pleasantries. I want to keep the house, keep custody, and make sure she doesn't see a cent more than she's legally owed, I said flatly. He didn't flinch. Tell me about the affair. Multiple instances, I said. One confirmed with a co-worker during travel. Possibly others. I've got photo surveillance, travel records, and timeline inconsistencies going back months. I'm still digging. Prenup? No, but I've got leverage. He paused. Children. 2. Young. And they're the only reason I haven't turned this house into a war zone. He gave a small grunt. Understood. Then we build quietly. We gather everything. When she's exposed, she'll be out of moves. Exactly what I needed to hear. Over the next 3 days, I became the version of myself I never knew I could be. I started moving money legally, discreetly. I opened new accounts in my name only, rerouted direct deposits, canceled automatic transfers to our joint account. I logged every financial step in case it came up in court. I wasn't going to get caught sloppily pulling the rug. I wanted to do it with clean hands and perfect form. I also backed up every file on her laptop that I could access. A copy of her email archive, her calendar entries, even the photos she never thought I'd see, selfies in hotel rooms, taken before she met clients, lips done, hair tousled just so. Not pornographic, but personal. The kind of pictures wives don't take for their husbands anymore. I downloaded every one, and I never said a word. Midweek, I visited the PI again. This time, he handed me a manila envelope thicker than the last. She met him again, he said. Tuesday night. Different city this time. Same guy. He nodded. Same room number 2. These hotels are predictable. The photos showed them in the bar, her hand on his arm. They laughed. She leaned in close. Then, the elevator. A kiss just before the doors closed. There it was. Proof. Not implication. Confirmation. I stared at the photo until the PI cleared his throat. Want to go nuclear? He asked. I didn't answer, but he knew the look. Back home, Claire was watching a movie with the kids. She looked up as I walked in, searching my eyes, looking for softness, looking for the man she married. He wasn't home. She tried that night, slipped into our bed instead of the guest room, laid her head against my chest. I miss us, she whispered. I didn't move. Do you think we could fix this? She asked, voice barely audible. I waited a beat, then 2, then whispered back. I already am. The next day, I transferred the title of the house into a trust. It had been in my name alone, purchased with a down payment from an inheritance she had nothing to do with. My lawyer told me how to shield it. He had a team draft the paperwork overnight. Then I filed for legal separation, not divorce. Quietly, it froze our shared accounts and forced all major decisions to require joint agreement. No more impulse purchases. No more surprise withdrawals. It was a warning shot. Claire found the paperwork Friday morning. She didn't confront me. Not right away. She just left the envelope on the counter with the toaster, like it might turn into something else if ignored long enough. But that night, after the kids were asleep, she broke. You're trying to punish me, she hissed. You're trying to destroy me. I looked up from my laptop, calm. I'm just making sure you don't destroy me first. I said I was sorry. No, I said, you didn't. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. Then the truth spilled out. Not the kind that helps, but the kind you can't unhear. It wasn't serious. It didn't mean anything. It was just... I felt like I was disappearing. Disappearing? I scoffed. You wanted to feel wanted, so you burned down a life. Her voice cracked. I didn't mean for it to go this far. You never do, I said. That's the problem. She stood there, shaking, like she wanted to beg, like she still believed this could be negotiated. But I had moved past pain, past bargaining. This was control now. Strategy. A slow-motion execution of the woman who thought I'd never fight back. I never had to scream. All I had to do was let the silence stretch long enough for her to fall into it. People like Claire, people who live dual lives, they rely on control, on curation. They manage impressions the way surgeons manage scalpels. Precise, careful, clean. All I had to do was nudge a few things out of place, and everything started to come apart. It began with a forwarded email. Just one. A message sent from her company account to a hotel reservation service, requesting a room with privacy. The recipient, her boss. CC'd? A junior staffer named Aaron, accidentally or otherwise. I forwarded that thread, anonymously, to the internal HR tip line at her firm. No accusation. No attachments. Just a single sentence. Might want to look into this. The optics aren't great. Within 48 hours, the whispers started. Claire came home, Wednesday tight-lipped. Her jaw was locked in that way I'd seen before, when she used to fight with her mother over inheritance drama. You okay? I asked, all innocence. She nodded. Just a long day. There's tension at work. Tension. She never used that word before. The next move came Friday, right before lunch. I left an envelope, sealed, unmarked, on the windshield of her boss's car in their corporate parking garage. Inside, photos. The ones from the hotel lobby. The elevator. The kiss before the doors closed. All time-stamped. I didn't include a letter. Didn't need to. By Sunday, Claire got the call. She sat on the edge of the bed, phone in one hand, blank stare on her face. Just nodded a few times. Said nothing. Then hung up. I didn't ask who it was. She didn't tell me. She didn't have to. I already knew the company had an anti-fraternization policy. I looked it up the night I saw the kiss photo. One violation, particularly between a superior and a subordinate, could trigger disciplinary review or worse. He was her boss, and now he was her liability. Monday, she didn't go into the office. She sat at the dining room table with her laptop open but untouched, phone face down beside her, like a bomb she didn't want to defuse. Around noon, I got a text from a friend of mine in her department. Nothing intimate, just a dad I'd coached soccer with 2 years back. Hey, off the record, things okay between you and Claire? Her name's getting thrown around a lot at work. Thought you should know. I didn't respond, just deleted it. She was right across the room when the notification buzzed. She didn't ask who it was from. She was too busy pretending not to see the way the walls were closing in. I could have done more. Could have outed her publicly, dragged her through social media mud, sent copies of the photos to every family member with a conscience and a judgmental streak. But that would have made her the victim, and I didn't want her pitted. I wanted her isolated. So I waited and watched. A week later, she came into the kitchen while I was making coffee. Her eyes were glassy, red around the edges. No makeup, no smile. I've been suspended, she said, pending investigation. I sipped my coffee. Why? She flinched. You know why? You mean the affair? Her mouth opened, then closed again. It was the first time I'd used the word out loud. It wasn't supposed to be this, she whispered. It was just supposed to be escape. I nodded slowly. Funny thing about escapes. Most people don't drag their families behind them. That one hit. She sat down, suddenly looking smaller than I remembered. I might lose my job, she said. Yeah, I said. You might. We sat in silence, the only sound the soft clink of my spoon against the side of the mug. The next day, I had the kids dropped off at my sister's place for the weekend. Told Claire I needed space, that we needed to think separately before anything became final. She didn't protest. She just nodded, packed a bag, and left quietly. I wasn't sure where she went. Didn't care. But when I checked our shared location tracker out of habit, I saw she was back at the same hotel. Same room block. No doubt trying to gather what little dignity she had left from the place where she lost it all. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was predictable. I spent the weekend cleaning. Not just the house, but the digital traces. Changed passwords. Secured accounts. Spoke to my lawyer about next steps. I'd say she's unraveling, he said. If you wanted to push for full custody, now's the time. I didn't answer right away. Let her twist in it a bit longer, I said. Let her realize how much she's about to lose. He chuckled. You're not vindictive, are you? Not at all, I replied. I'm just done being the one who gets blindsided. The house was quiet. Clean. Every drawer closed. Every surface wiped down. It looked like a place waiting for new owners, not the scene of a marriage on life support. I sat in the kitchen with a legal pad and a pen. Old habit. I think better when I write. At the top, I scribbled one word. Aftermath. Underneath, I split the page into 2 columns. What I want and what I'll do. It sounds clinical, cold, but when you've been lied to in your own home, emotion becomes a liability. You learn to think like a surgeon. Precise. Controlled. Willing to cut out what no longer serves the body. Claire came back Sunday night. She didn't knock. She let herself in like she always had, but her movements were hesitant now. Like she expected me to greet her with divorce papers or a baseball bat. Instead, I was sitting on the living room couch, flipping through a file folder. Hey, she said. I looked up. Back from the scene of the crime? Her face twisted. Please don't. Why not? I asked. You've already taken the mask off. Let's not pretend it's still Halloween. She didn't sit. She stood in the doorway like a defendant awaiting sentencing. I've been talking to someone, she said finally. A therapist. That's supposed to impress me? No, she said. But I need you to know I'm trying to understand what I did. Why I let it happen. I closed the folder and leaned back. It's simple. You wanted more. You thought no one would find out. You gambled our lives for hotel sheets and cheap wine. That's not fair. No, I snapped. It's accurate. She folded into the armchair across from me, deflated. Her hair was up, like she used to wear it when she cleaned the house on Sundays. But her makeup was smudged, and her hands were trembling slightly. I don't know what you want from me, she whispered. I studied her face, and I realized she still thought this was about winning me back. She thought this was a story with a redemptive arc, a reconciliation, but it wasn't. This was a reckoning. I want to show you something, I said. I reached into the folder and pulled out 2 documents. The first, a list of every financial move I'd made over the last 3 weeks. Every transfer, every trust. The second, a copy of the custody agreement I was prepared to submit. She took the papers with both hands, eyes scanning line by line. Her breath caught when she reached the clause about supervised visitation. You can't do this, she said, voice cracking. I can't, I said, and I will, unless you agree to what's in the envelope on the kitchen counter. She turned her head. The envelope had been there since she walked in. She hadn't noticed it. Now, it might as well have been ticking. She opened it with trembling fingers. Inside, a divorce settlement. Clean. No alimony. I keep the house. Primary custody. She gets weekend visits. We split holidays. She keeps her car and what's left of her name. She read it 3 times before speaking. This is merciful, she said. After everything. I nodded. It is. She looked up confused. Why, she asked. You could have destroyed me. I still might, I said calmly. But this gives you a chance to disappear gracefully. You sign it. This ends quietly. No courtroom. No subpoenas. No depositions about wine bottles and room numbers. And if I don't, I lean forward. Locked eyes. Then I tear the mask off in front of everyone you've ever lied to. Your boss. Your parents. The kids, when they're old enough to understand why Daddy's name was on the lease, but not on the paternity certificate. Her lips parted in horror. And there it was. The full collapse. She signed. Slowly. Carefully. And when she handed the papers back, her fingers were still shaking. I do love them, she said, voice barely audible. The kids. You may not believe me, but I did this to feel alive, not to hurt them. You did it to feel alive, I said, standing. But now you're going to learn how it feels to live with consequences. I didn't look back as I walked upstairs. I heard the front door close behind her 5 minutes later. That night, I sat on the edge of Jeremy's bed and watched him breathe in his sleep. Same for Melissa. They didn't know yet. Not the full story. Just that Mommy's moving into a new house. We'd figure out how to explain the rest with time. What mattered is that I was still here. They would have one stable parent, one who wouldn't lie to them. The next morning, I met with my lawyer and submitted the signed documents. It was done. No more hiding. No more war. Just aftermath. And as I left the courthouse, the sun finally broke through the clouds. It wasn't justice. It wasn't closure. But it was mine. And in this life, sometimes that's enough.